So I am fresh back from Norway now and back home now, feeling good. And yeah, what an amazing trip that was. Honestly, one of the best trips I've had. As I hope I got across in my videos, Norway really is just an absolutely stunning place. The landscape everywhere we went was just incredible. And what I really loved as well is, obviously in the winter, there's not a lot of daylight, but as I've said in my previous video, whenever there is daylight, for those short few hours, it basically transitions straight from sunrise to sunset. So for those few hours, the light is just beautiful the whole time. And pretty much every day, apart from maybe one day when it was too cloudy, pretty much every day just seemed to give me the best light I've ever seen. It was just absolutely beautiful. So you've got incredible light, amazing scenery everywhere you look, and then you've got the added bonus of seeing the Northern Lights as well. So it is definitely a place you should go. Obviously, in terms of seeing the Northern Lights, you kind of need a bit of luck as well, and we were actually very lucky in that we saw the Northern Lights every night apart from our last night. We didn't even bother going out that night because it was very cloudy, and as it was our last night, we decided instead just to sort of have a few drinks basically. Now, although we saw them every night, not every night was amazing. We were incredibly lucky the first night. It was just an unbelievable show on the first night. That night and the previous night before we arrived were apparently the best displays they had had of the Northern Lights of this year so far. So we were really lucky that night, and that was honestly one of the best, most amazing experiences of my life. The thing is with the Northern Lights is that cameras pick them up better than our eyes do. So when you see photographs of the Northern Lights, a lot of the time they don't actually look like that when you're actually standing there watching it, because our eyes can't pick them up as well as cameras do. So when we were actually stood there watching it, when it was happening, to us it often looks like kind of like a cloud, but a cloud that's kind of got more of a different kind of look of it. It's not as thick, and it's more of a streak, a line often, as opposed to a big fluffy cloud. So it's kind of like a line across the sky that looks a bit like a cloud, but will have a hint of green to it. And even like that, it is impressive to see. But if you haven't seen the Northern Lights before and you've been wowed by all these incredible, unbelievable photos, don't expect to see that every time, because if you are lucky enough to see the Northern Lights, it's not necessarily going to look like quite as good as it is in photos. However, if it is a particularly strong display like it was for us on our first night, then you will start to see more colours and more movement, and it will be much more vivid. And for us on our first night, like even to our eyes, it did just look exactly like it does when you see these unbelievable photos. And that's why it was like the best experience I've ever had. If anything, on that first night, it was actually the other way around, in that my photos didn't do the experience justice. That was partly because obviously I was struggling with my equipment on the first night and all my batteries died, so I wasn't able to take a huge amount of photos when a lot of it was going on. But also, it was that good. Even if my camera had been working the whole time, I don't think a photograph would be able to get across just actually stood there and watching it. And that first night, it really did just fill up the whole sky, and it was right above us, and there was so much movement in the sky and so much colour. And you do have to be very lucky. Obviously, you can go to Iceland or Norway for a week and you might not see the Northern Lights at all. We were just very lucky that that first night was just an unbelievable show. So if you've never seen the Northern Lights before, there is a chance that you'll get lucky and you'll get this incredible display that looks how you've seen in amazing photographs and videos. But just be aware that a lot of the times, even if you do see the Northern Lights, it doesn't look as good as that because our eyes don't pick it up in the same way, and a lot of the times it will just look kind of like a cloud with a bit of green and a bit of movement. So just don't go there with the expectation that you're going to be blown away, because you do have to have a bit of luck as well. Some people were interested in our itinerary as well, so I'll just quickly go through that. So Tromso is the main city and the main sort of place to go. In fact, if you go onto Instagram and look at photos of the Northern Lights in Norway, you will see that the vast majority of them, the location is tagged Tromso. Now, I've noticed that doesn't necessarily mean that those photos are taken directly in the city of Tromso. A lot of them are taken just outside, but certainly if you're going, Tromso is the place to go. That's the main city. They do a lot of tours there. So even if you're not hiring a car and things, there's a huge amount of different tours you can go on that will take you to different places, and they claim to know all the secrets, the best places to go and things. So Tromso is the place to go. You can't fly there directly. You will need to fly to Oslo first and then change at Oslo. We spent a few nights in Tromso and we drove to the island of Senja and stayed at a place called Fjordgard. So that's just one option. There's so many places you can go. So many, as it's the fjords, there's so many different little islands. But Senja is a good place. Just the scenery, the landscape itself is amazing. So Senja is a place worth going just purely to view the landscape itself. Lofoten is another popular place. We didn't go there, but I'm sure you'll have seen, if you look at photos of Norway and the Northern Lights, Lofoten is another place that comes up a lot. So if you're wanting to hire a car and move around to different places, then that is a good thing. You certainly won't be short of places to visit. Otherwise, you can just stay in Tromso. And yes, you are in the city, but ironically on our trip, it just so happened to be that we got the best displays while we were actually in the city. Obviously, you would think because of light pollution and everything, you'd be better off in more isolated places. Maybe a lot of the times you would be, but it just so happened to be when we were there, we always got the best displays in Tromso. Okay, battery on my camera just died there, so apologies for any movement in the camera. So let's just whiz through this quickly before my camera dies again. In terms of accommodation, everywhere we stayed at was Airbnbs. There are hotels in Tromso, but as there was 5 of us, it was just easier and probably cheaper as well for us to get places on Airbnb. And also when we stayed in Fjordgard on the island of Senja, that's just a very small kind of village, I guess. So there's certainly no hotels or anything there. So if you're just staying in Tromso, you do have the option of hotels, but if you're moving around, you will have to find places on Airbnb. But as there's so many tourists, then there's no shortage of places on Airbnb. So probably best to stick with Airbnb unless you're just staying in Tromso and want the luxury of a hotel. In terms of the hire car, that we got the hire car from Europe Car, however it's pronounced. That was booked in advance, and we picked up the car at the airport. It was very, very easy, straightforward. The hire car came to a cost of £365 for 5 days. Obviously that was split between 5 of us. Because there was 5 of us each with luggage and everything, that was for quite a large estate. If you were hiring a smaller car, obviously it would be cheaper. Norway is quite an expensive place. I've been to Norway before and knew it was expensive. At least I knew Oslo was expensive. I assumed because we were further north, I hoped it would be a bit cheaper, but it wasn't at all. So food and drink and everything else, it is quite expensive. Another top tip I will give you if you're starting your own YouTube channel is to make sure you charge the batteries on your camera before you sit down and start recording a video. I'm stupid and did not do that, so the battery on my camera died, so I'm now switching to my phone. So apologies for that, but I think I covered everything there. If there is anything else about my trip to Norway that you'd like to know, then just put a comment below and I will get back to you. But I do hope you've enjoyed watching my Norway videos. It's definitely a place I recommend you all go. It was just amazing. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.